In the brief history of TSOW, I have focused in on some of the big impact players that we can expect to really carry the Oregon Ducks to success in 2025. But today, I want to highlight some underrated guys that might be flying a little bit under the radar in terms of big-time impact players. All of these guys are going to see a fairly significant role, but when you listen to maybe the national media talk in bits and pieces of a team and they talk about Oregon, these guys aren't mentioned, right? When you're kind of getting your elevator pitch for the 2025 season, these guys normally aren't talked about a lot, but I think these guys certainly provide a lot of depth to their specific positions and are certainly going to play an impact in a lot of games this season. Let's start first on the defensive side of the football at the linebacker position, and I really like the position group, especially the starting group right off the bat. Tatum Tuioti and Devin Jackson. Let's start first with Tatum Tuioti. He might be one of my favorite players on this football team. I think when people talk about the defense, like they talk about Matayo, Uiagalelei, right? He was led the Big Ten in sacks during the regular season last year, and I've raved about him. I think he can be one of college football's best pass rushers. You look to the linebacker position like Bryce Betcher and the huge jump that he made last year to really take over that room a season ago, and what he could be one of the best linebackers in the country next season. You look at Dylan Thieneman transferring in from Purdue at safety. Some people say he might be the best player on the football team. But when you look at the linebacker room and you look at the front 6 or 7 of this defense, Tatum Tuioti, I think, is going to play a tremendously important piece because of his versatility. Like, he can do so many things on this defense, and he provides so much flexibility for what Tosh Lupoi is certainly calling out there. Now, you look at his tenure so far for the Ducks, and I think this certainly stands out to see what maybe more of a jump that we could see from him in 2025. In 2023, after missing the season opener, he played in 13 straight games as a true freshman. I've said many times on this show before how difficult it is with all of the great talent that comes in at Oregon, how difficult that it can be to get on the field as a true freshman in Eugene, Oregon. 30 tackles, 4 TFLs, and 2 sacks back in 2023. And then 2024, that's when Tatum was jumping into a starting role as a sophomore. He started all 14 games, 58 tackles, 7.5 tackles for loss, and 5.5 sacks. You really saw him step up opposite of Jordan Birch, opposite of Matayo Uiagalelei, really step up into a bigger role on this defense. And when you talk about the versatility, he's 6'3", 255 pounds. Like, you see him a lot watching back some tape. You see him a lot where you maybe have, whether it's Matayo or Jordan Birch in a 3-point stance at the defensive end spot, he's lined up at that edge spots in a 2-point stance. Now, that's certainly not the biggest size for somebody on the defensive line, but his speed, his agility, his quickness as a pass rusher in that situation can give offensive tackles a lot of trouble. Now, you shift him back, right? If that's like a 4-2-5 look defensively, you shift him back to maybe into a 3-3-5 look. Now, all of a sudden, in that outside linebacker spot, we already talked about his aforementioned quickness. Now, all of a sudden, at 6'3", 255 pounds, now at that linebacker spot, you got quickness, and that's a pretty good size for a linebacker position, right? So he provides a very wide skill set, and like Matayo and what I expect him to really take a jump up, I think the same type of jump up you can expect from Tatum Tuioti. Like, I think there's going to be points and times during this 2025 season where it's going to be very much pick your poison from a pass rushing standpoint. There's going to be times during the season where people recognize the talent that is Matayo. They're going to shift their pass protection in his direction. And either Tatum Tuioti is going to come free, or Tatum Tuioti is going to have a very favorable one-on-one matchup, maybe against a tight end, maybe against a tackle. And a lot of times, he's going to come up with a big play. Based on the production, he's the guy that's not getting talked a lot about right now, and as maybe one of the bigger performers of the team. And I think he's going to be certainly a big part of this defense. When you talk about Devin Jackson, last season a lot of attention certainly went to Bryce Betcher. Jeff Bassa, of course, was in that other role as well. But I think a big maybe part that flew under the radar with this defense was Devin Jackson. I mean, pound for pound, he's one of the fastest guys on this football team. This guy can flat out fly, and this guy can flat out find the football. Last season, 47 tackles. He had 3 games with at least 5 tackles. Bryce Betcher, and the storyline of Bryce coming back for this season certainly gets a lot of love. But I think when you start to look at this front six, when you start to look at this front group of this Oregon defense, the combination of Bryce Betcher and Devin Jackson, and we can even throw in the aforementioned Tatum Tuiagalelei into that group, make this a very strong and a very deep starting linebacker group. So both Tuiagalelei and Devin Jackson, I think, are a little bit underrated when maybe people outside of the Oregon program are looking like the Ducks. But when you look at Matayo, Amari Washington, Bryce, Tatum, Devin, this is a really good group. And I think that this edge, defensive line, linebacker group, I think they're going to take even more steps up, certainly, this season. Let's go to offense, and let's talk about another pair at the wide receiver position. And I've talked about this as well. I think I'm even underrated, certainly a lot of these guys as well, but I've talked about Kyler Casper. I've talked about Jeremiah McClellan. I've talked about some of these other cats that are going to really come in there, and maybe these younger guys that are going to be able to make an impact. Malik Benson, who transfers in, certainly as well. But there's 2 veteran guys in this group that I think are going to have a say in what happens in the pass game and in the pass distribution, certainly this season. When you start with Gary Bryant Jr., we're going to talk about Justice Lowe as well, but Gary Bryant Jr. he provides a veteran presence. He's been around for a long time. Now, the thing with Gary is his health, right? He's got to be healthy. There's been a couple of seasons where he hasn't seen a lot of action because of long-term injuries. The 2024 season was certainly one of those seasons for Gary. But I love the veteran presence for many reasons. Like, you put him in the slot into a 3rd and 5. He's gonna work against the slot corner, and he has the veteran presence. He's seen a lot of coverages. He's seen a lot of defenses where he's going to be able to make a play, and he's going to be able to keep on moving the chains. Certainly down the field as well. Like, you look at Gary Bryant, 2021 at USC, 44 catches, 579 yards, and 7 touchdowns. You look at that 2023 season, 30 catches, 442, and 4 scores at Oregon. Like, if Gary Bryant goes out there this season in a wide receiver rotation and has something like 330 yards and 4 or 5 touchdowns, that is a successful season for Gary Bryant Jr., considering all the other talent that's going to be rolling through in this group. And when I talk about the veteran presence of Gary Bryant Jr., I talked about a lot of the young guys. Like, outside of Evan Stewart, there's not a ton of, besides these 2 veteran guys, there's not a ton of snaps right now. And I think that Gary Bryant Jr. might be a little bit of a coach in the room as well for these younger guys. And I think that maybe adds into his value within this Oregon Ducks football program right now. Justice Lowe, he stepped up when Trayshawn Holden and Tez Johnson weren't available last season. He made 5 starts, 21 catches, 203 yards, and touchdowns. Just made key plays when Oregon really needed them to be made. And I kind of look at him the same way I do Gary Bryant, right? There's these flashy young kids that a lot of people are very excited about, but here he was, just a reliable option, stepped up and did a really good job when you had some high impact performers that were out last season. The last one might be the most underrated of them all, and it's Noah Whittington. When you talk about the run game, out goes Jordan James, in come Mekhi Hughes. And I certainly understand why there's a lot of attention, and there should be a lot of attention on Mekhi Hughes. I provided a lot of that hype, certainly, on Mekhi Hughes. And then there's a lot of hype also surrounding Dink Riggs coming into this thing. And whether it's folks that were at the Combine or other interviews as well, like, there's a lot of smoke for Dejon Riggs to really step up into a bigger role this season. But here's just Noah Whittington. When he has been healthy, he has been the perfect 1B back. When we talk about the versatility like we did with Tatum Tuiagalelei, On offense, it's Noah Whittington. He can pass block. He can be that guy to get you tough yards, that thunderous power back, certainly up the middle, and we've seen that as well. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. If you ask Noah Whittington to do it, he will do it. And he's got that veteran presence that has been around. Like in 2021, this is pre-Dan Lanning we're talking about, 617 yards and 2 touchdowns. You go to 2022, 779 yards and 5 scores. Last season, 540 yards and 6 touchdowns. When Noah Whittington got healthy, somewhere around halfway through the season, that's when you really saw him get back to form. And if Noah Whittington is fully healthy, this is going to be a very deep backfield, and Noah Whittington is going to play an extremely big part in this rushing attack and have the success of this rushing attack. When you have a guy that you can depend on in that 1B role to do so many different things, and I think his experience is also going to help bring on someone like Dink Riggs to maybe elevate into a starting running back role for the 2026 version of the Oregon Ducks as well. But he's just someone that you can rely on all the time to make plays in key situations, and you love to have a guy like that in the locker room.